For obvious reasons, I thought this would be a very fitting Christmas type video to make this year. First off, I went to Instagram asking people what their favorite Christmas market foods were. Some of these I'd never heard before in my life. But yeah, hope you guys are gonna enjoy this, and let's jump into this. When I think of Christmas markets, the first thing that comes to mind is candied almonds. It's actually one of the very few accidentally vegan food items you'd be able to find at those markets. To a large skillet, add some raw almonds, some sugar, and water. Bring the heat to medium-high and mix it up well so the sugar dissolves and all the almonds are coated in liquid. As it comes up to a boil, stir again and keep stirring so that nothing burns at the bottom. You can add your last few ingredients: cinnamon, vanilla, and salt. Mix those in, and now let it keep simmering while you keep stirring pretty frequently until it reaches the stage where all of a sudden it becomes super dry and sort of sandy almost. So this happened after about 8 to 10 minutes of stirring. I turned the heat to medium here, but still kept mixing it for a couple more minutes until the sugar became liquid again. Now as soon as it hits this stage, take it off the heat, put it on a baking sheet that you've lined with parchment paper. I should have prepared that beforehand. Try to spread out the almonds somewhat evenly so it's not just gonna be one big ball of sugar and nuts. And let them cool until you can touch them without burning yourself for at least 15 minutes, I'd say. Then you can transfer them to a bowl or a glass jar to store them for like a week, and that is it. If you prefer them to look more like this, just take the skillet off the heat once it reaches this stage, the sandy dry stage, and then place them on the baking sheet, and so on. On to a recipe that has a few more steps involved, but the outcome is a very yummy one as well. For this, we're gonna be making handbrot, which translates to, you might have guessed it, hand bread. So these are mini loaves of fluffy bread filled with cheese and other stuff. I did not know this was a thing. To a large mixing bowl, you're going to add some sugar and lukewarm water. Then you're gonna add some olive oil and sprinkle over the dry active yeast. Let this rest for about 10 minutes while you gather and measure out your dry ingredients. Mix it all up with a wooden spoon until it roughly comes together, and then get your hands in there, kneading the dough for like 2 to 3 minutes. Cover it up with something, a dish towel, parchment paper, some foil, and put it someplace warm for about an hour. In the meantime, we're gonna get started on the filling, which is part smoked tofu and onion. So cut up a block of smoked tofu and chop up a red onion. Bring a skillet with a bit of oil to medium heat. Add the onion pieces, letting those saute for about 3 minutes before adding the tofu chunks, letting that cook for another 5 to 7 minutes. The tofu has such a strong flavor that I didn't even season it, but yeah, feel free to season this with whatever you like. This next step here is very optional. I made some of my mildly famous vegan cheese sauce that I love to use whenever vegan cheese comes into play. You can easily just use vegan pizza cheese. I think that makes more sense and it's less work for you. Go ahead and knead the dough now for another 2 to 3 minutes on a floured surface. Then roll it out into a large rectangle. Now add your filling, and it's gonna be divided into 4 little batches. Top the little hills of tofu and onion off with either your cheese sauce or a large handful of vegan pizza cheese. Okay, and now on to folding this. Fold over the short ends first, then fold in the long ends like so. And then cut the bread into 4 parts. Preheat the oven at this point to 200 degrees Celsius. Brush them with some soy milk. Sprinkle them with some more flour to give them a nice rustic bakery look. Bake them in the now hot oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Serve them warm with some vegan cream cheese dip, for example. To this oat-based sour cream, I had added some frozen herbs and lemon juice and salt. And I spread that on top of the bun. Some of the pieces turned out gigantic and extremely fluffy. Also feel free to add whatever you want into these. I think a mushroom filling would be interesting, or sun-dried tomatoes with pesto. There's a lot you could do here. On to a quick little beverage idea. This is my number one thing to get at the Christmas market, Kinderpunsch. I know in a lot of stores here you can easily buy the pre-mixed stuff, but I don't think that is available everywhere. So here's a super simple homemade version that I quite enjoy. To a small saucepan, you're gonna add some apple juice, grape juice, and some cherry juice. Also add a bit of orange peel. Make sure that orange is organic in this case. And then also add some fresh lemon juice, as well as 1 to 2 tea bags of your favorite kind of Christmas themed tea. I can highly recommend this one. It's a plum and cinnamon. It's plum and cinnamon flavored. Bring this mix up to a boil, and then once it's boiling, turn the heat down to medium-low and let it simmer for like 8 minutes. And then that's it. It is so cozy. On to idea number 4. Probably the most suggested answer from you guys, Mutzen or Schmalzkuchen. Again, completely unknown to me. I think where I'm from, all people care about at Christmas markets is wine. But after some intense Googling, I found out these are essentially donut holes you eat with powdered sugar. This means we'll have to start with another yeast base. To a small saucepan, add some cold vegan butter and bring it up to medium-high so the butter can melt quickly. Next up, pour in some non-dairy milk. Add vanilla, lemon juice, and sugar. I think it's the lemon combined with the butter and soy milk that makes this kind of curdle up a bit, which is totally fine. It just looks a bit strange. Pour this into the baking bowl and let it cool off a bit. Lukewarm or a very warm bathtub temperature is what you're looking for. Now add your dry active yeast on top, and again let it sit for about 10 minutes. Meanwhile, measure out your spelt flour or all-purpose and add some salt to that, as well as some cornstarch. Give that a quick mix, and then you can add the dry ingredients to the yeast, mixing it up with a spoon first until it sort of comes together, and then switch to your hands. Kneading this for about 3 minutes. You know that you're done working the dough once it's really easy to work with and it's not sticky anymore. Place it back into the bowl you've just used, cover it up with something, and then put it somewhere warm for about an hour. The great thing about this recipe is that you don't have to do any more rolling or kneading. Simply cut the dough in half and then cut it into slices and then into small little pieces. Make these shapes smaller rather than bigger because they're gonna rise quite a bit. Grab a medium-sized pot. Something with high walls is best. I own 2 tiny ones and this one is slightly bigger than the other one, so went for that one. Anyway, add about half a liter of frying oil and bring this up to medium-high heat. I don't have a thermometer for my oil, so all I'm doing is checking with a wooden spoon if there's little bubbles forming around the wood, then I know it's hot enough. If the oil is ever steaming, or I guess smoking is the better term, then you know it's too hot. Just keep it between a nice medium to medium-high heat during the entire frying process. Once again, once the wood has bubbles forming around it, quickly add your first batch. I added about 10 at once, using a fork, which is neither the most safe nor the most convenient method. Go for something like this, that way you also don't have to add them one after the other and be stressed about it. Carefully move them around as they're frying. Once they're getting nice and golden brown, take them out, placing them on a plate lined with paper towels to catch the excess oil. This should be enough for 30 to 40 of these, so you would do 3 to 4 rounds of deep frying. Serve them immediately. I've always dreaded deep frying. I always used to think it's super complicated, but it's actually pretty easy. Like I said earlier, I think most people at German Christmas markets care about the mulled wine, but then right after that comes buns with sausages. Chop up a red onion and a clove of garlic. Bring a small skillet with a bit of oil to medium heat. Once hot, add the onion first. Let that saute for 2 to 3 minutes before adding the garlic and letting that cook for another 2 to 3 minutes. Grab a food processor and add a block of firm, plain tofu, the cooked garlic and onion, some small cut oats, cornstarch, salt, barbecue sauce, mustard, some smoked paprika powder, white wine vinegar, and some fresh or frozen herbs. Blend it all up until smooth. Taste test it and adjust anything if needed. Then, on a sheet of parchment paper, you're going to shape the sausages using about a handful of the tofu mixture for each one. It's gonna be a bit sticky in the beginning, but just try to form a sausage-esque shape out of this. And then what you're gonna wanna do is wash your hands, and then with your newly clean and slightly wet fingers, you're going to go over them again, smoothing out the top. I hope that made sense. Here's where I gotta credit my dear friend Ati. She told me to try and use rice papers as the outer layer or skin of the sausages. And she was inspired by Zach Bird's vegan turkey recipe on Instagram. So anyway, that's what I'm doing here. I'm taking a piece of rice paper, adding that to a deep dish plate filled with cold water and letting it sit in there for about 20 seconds. And then I'm simply wrapping the rice paper around the sausages. Now you have a couple different options on how to cook these. If you're hungry and you want your food now, fry them immediately in a saucepan with a bit of oil for 3 to 4 minutes on medium-high heat, rotating them every once in a while. Serve them in a white bun. Add some ketchup here first, followed by these caramelized onions I also made. For these, I'd simply just cut up an onion into rings and fried it in a small amount of vegan butter and oil for about 10 minutes on medium heat, seasoning that to taste. Some mustard went on there as well, and that was it. These are really nice, but cooking them this way, they will definitely come out a bit more soft on the inside. If you'd like them to be a bit more firm, then before you wrap them in rice paper, bake them for 8 to 10 minutes on 180 degrees Celsius. So you can either just serve them like this without any rice paper, or after baking them, you once again wrap them up in paper, not parchment paper, rice paper, and then you fry them. Also, flavor-wise, they're really good, but they don't taste like meat. But I also think serving them like this, with the ketchup, the mustard, onions, and the bun, it kind of tricks your brain into thinking you're eating a regular sausage, if that makes any sense. There was no way I could make a Christmas market video and not include Nutella crepe, and because the video I did on crepe is almost 3 years old, I think it deserves to be reshot. Grab a blender and add all the necessary ingredients: flour, baking powder, salt, vanilla, cornstarch, sugar, non-dairy milk, and apple cider vinegar. Blend it all up. You definitely need a non-stick pan for this. Grease your pan with some coconut oil and bring it to medium-high heat. Once you add the batter, swing the pan around in a circular motion so it can spread all across, and then cook these for about 2 minutes on either side. Once bubbles are forming at the top, you can lift the crepe and check out the color on the bottom, and if you're happy with it, flip it. Some of these I made a bit too thick for the pan. Some I made teeny tiny. There's really no right or wrong way of going about this. Spread them with some vegan hazelnut spread or anything else you might like. These are so good. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope there was something in there for you. If you want to see more Christmas type videos, I have done two of these in the past. There's a vegan Christmas dessert video and a vegan Christmas menu video on my channel. I will make sure to link both here in the end card. Thank you so much for watching. There's gonna be more cozy videos coming soon, so stay tuned. And that's it for me.